Fatma, should we just wait for, okay.
I can see people entering now.
Yes. We can just wait a little bit for more people to join.
We haven't welcomed Dr. Fatima. So Dr. Fatima, welcome to this webinar. I think we were ahead of you when we started this conversation with Hazel, and you came late. So welcome to this webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Said. It's nice to meet you and to join with you. I'm very proud to be among this team, and I hope that the cooperation between us will continue later on.
Great, definitely.
Hi, Dr. Fatma. It's a pleasure to connect with you.
Hi, Basil. Nice to meet you. Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. I hope to see you in person next time in Dubai.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, we have to.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think when we get to about 30 participants, we can start. Oh, we're on 30.
There we are. Yeah. Oh,
it's really nice.
Yeah, they heard you. Someone heard you.
One dropped.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start now. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you all to our webinar on how generative AI drives innovation in business. This webinar is being hosted by the Sharjah Research Technology and Innovation Park. We're delighted to have you all here today as we delve into the fascinating world of generative AI and its transformative impact on organizations. And before we begin, let's take a moment to acknowledge the current global trend of artificial intelligence and its profound influence on various industries, from healthcare to finance to marketing to manufacturing. AI has become a game changer, revolutionizing the way we live and the way we work. Today, we are specifically focusing on the Middle East, a region that has witnessed remarkable advancement in AI technologies. Governments and businesses in the Middle East, with the support of institutions like us here at SRTIP, are embracing innovation and leveraging AI to unlock new opportunities and drive economic growth. So SRTIP is a leading research and innovation park. We are dedicated to promoting technological advancement, fostering collaboration between academia, industry, and government. SRTIP's work in AI encompassing cutting-edge research, development of AI technologies, and support for startups in the AI ecosystem. So in this webinar, we'll explore the immense potential of generative AI and its role in driving innovation within businesses. We have the privilege of hosting 3 distinguished panelists with us who are experts in their respective fields to share their insights and experiences with us. I'll introduce our panelists. I'll start with Dr. Said Al-Daheri. Dr. Said is a futurist, a thought leader, and an author, known for his expertise in technology and innovation. He has held key positions such as the founder and former Director General of the Emirates ID Authority, and a former member of the Scientist Advisory Committee of the UAE Space Agency. Currently, he serves as the Director of the Center of Future Studies at the University of Dubai, and is a visiting lecturer at Oxford University. He's also president of the UAE Robotics and Automation Society and a member of the Global Future Council of the World Economic Forum. He has also co-authored the book Digital Nation and contributed to articles globally. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Said.
Pleasure.
My next panelist, I'll introduce Dr. Fatma Baothman. Dr. Fatma Baothman is a pioneering Saudi Arabian computer scientist and renowned for her groundbreaking contributions as the first woman in the Middle East to hold a PhD in artificial intelligence. I'll repeat that. She's renowned for her groundbreaking contributions as the first woman in the Middle East to hold a PhD in artificial intelligence, currently serving as the board president of the Artificial Intelligence Society. Dr. Baothman brings over 25 years of experience as an esteemed assistant professor at the Faculty of Computing and Information Technology at King Abdulaziz University. His significant role in establishing the Women's Department, which laid a foundation for the Computer Science College at King Abdulaziz University, further highlighting her remarkable achievements as the first teaching assistant faculty member in this domain. We are honored to have you with us, Dr. Baothman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And last but not least, I'll introduce Basil Fanti. Basil is an experienced product consultant, tech entrepreneur, author, and international speaker with over 17 years of experience. He's currently serving as the principal startup advocate at Amazon Web Services for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Basil's expertise lies in accelerating startups through innovation and the power of AI. He has developed keynotes and workshops at global events, empowering founders to leverage AI tools and achieve growth. Thank you for joining us.
Honor to be here with you.
It's an honor. We have quite a varied, broad expertise within the panel today, and we look forward to quite an insightful webinar. So to kick things off, I'm sure our attendees are quite eager, and this webinar will be quite interactive as well. We are going to be taking up questions, not only at the end of the panel, but in between. If you feel you have a question or an addition to for the panel, please do so through the chat. So to kick this off, I'll address the first question to you, Dr. Saeed. As a futurist and thought leader, how do you foresee generative AI shaping the future of businesses and industries?
Great. Well, thank you, Hazel, for the introduction, and thanks to the Sharjah Research Technology and Innovation Park for bringing this webinar. I think it's a timely, as everyone is speaking about generative AI, and we see the hype everywhere. So we are in a state of FOMO, fear of missing out, when we are talking about this subject. Let me first, establish a simple definition to what we mean by generative AI. So we are all on a common page. I guess generative AI are simply systems and tools that we use using a prompting technique to generate a desired output. We refer here to large language models such as ChatGPT, DALL-E, probably Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, and many other tools that are becoming more widely available now. So these can generate new content, can generate code, can generate arts, music, video, and even design based on natural language description. So we say that English is becoming the new programming language with generative AI. And generative AI and large language models are kind of the new generation or the next generation of AI, and is expecting to disrupt businesses and industries in many ways in terms of supercharging individuals' creativity, but also in terms of democratizing AI. And this is expected to have a huge impact on accelerating innovation. For example, Accenture is saying that large models such as GPT are ushering in a new era of total enterprise reinvention. And McKinsey, in their latest report, described generative AI as unleashing the next wave of creativity and supercharging individual productivity. Just to give you to put some figures into perspective here, McKinsey have estimated that generative AI could enable labor productivity growth of about from 1.1 to 0.6% annually until 2040. And that is a huge increase if we look into the productivity growth that have happened in the past decades, where the figures and estimates is about 1.3%. So imagine the technological revolution that has started in the 50s and 60s, it has contributed only to 1.3% of productivity growth worldwide, whereas generative AI is expecting to increase this annually by about 0.6%. So generative AI is an area that is developing fast. We see big tech introducing products based on generative AI. For example, Microsoft have amended its Bing based on GPT-4 and bringing generative AI to its productivity tools in Microsoft 365 Copilot, which means that a new level of natural interaction are going to happen between us, a human, and between these tools. Not just only that, but also Microsoft have amended the new operating system, the operating system 11, with generative AI. So imagine that you can today speak to your computer in a natural way, and it's like having an expert beside you trying to help you to achieve what you want. So I think that generative AI is going to revolutionize almost all industries, from content generation to arts, music, design, education, personalized marketing, healthcare, investment and financial analysis. And for example, ChatGPT can perform many wonderful things, including classifying text, editing, extracting, summarizing text, answering questions. We even at the Center for Future Studies here in Dubai is using generative AI to help us with the scenario development when we do future studies. So I think that generative AI is going to be a game changer for many industries, and we will see many of the new innovations and products that will come in the next 3 to 5 years.
Thank you so much for those insights. Actually, I was reading the McKinsey report on how the impact of generative AI on economy. It's quite impressive and remarkable. I'll move to Dr. Boathman. As an expert in AI and gender diversity, what are your thoughts on the role of generative AI in promoting diversity and inclusion in organizations? I think this is quite a vital topic that has been widely discussed. What are your views and thoughts on that?
Well, thank you very much for the question. Of course, generative AI is not only about selection and prediction as in the old AI, but it also has the capability to promote diversity and inclusion in organizations in several ways. So, for example, we could start by setting up the values that it's needed for each and every organization, because it differs, these values, according to the activities and the operation and the goals of the management. Then we move into building an accurate knowledge-based system that is able to generate and the right decisions, and to be trained to produce output that describe the future for next generation society, denoting age, race, gender, location, mental and physical abilities, and other factors as well that is needed. So by setting up these parameters for measuring diversity and inclusion in the workspace environment, language patterns can identify bases, and generative AI can help generations to create more equitable environment, uncover injustice that is being practiced within the workspace, and recognize worthy candidates existing in the organization. In academia, for example, generative AI can facilitate and sharing the knowledge and research findings equally, creating equal opportunities between different genders for better collaboration, innovation among scholars, and also with different background. This is not limited also to scholars, but also to students as well when it comes to resources. In business, generative AI can improve productivity and worker satisfaction, and can be used to create content that is diverse, inclusive, and legally compliant. And this is very important when it comes to fairness. It can help organizations to make fair decisions, improve diversity in hiring, and fair future opportunities. It can also improve the language and the communication level issues between different workers and the management. It can also assist workers with mental health services at different level in the organization by helping them to advocate materials and policy, different policy proposals within the organization. So generative AI has lots of, for the time being, it has only limited capabilities that has been mentioned by different application. But in the future, when these models are going to be combined with and become multi-models with different values and goals that is created for special purpose organization, then it is going to make a paradigm shift.
Great, such great insights. I am so interested in the fact that it can provide unbiased insights and ensure fair decision-making processes within organization. I think within every facet of our lifestyle. I'll move on to Basil. As an expert and a startup advocate, how do you see the role of SMEs, small, medium-sized enterprises, in leveraging AI technologies, particularly generative AI, to drive innovation?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, startups will play a massive role in this, because one of the key defining factors of startups is to move fast. And by the nature of the time that we live in right now, you absolutely have to move fast. We're currently firsthand experiencing what it means to be living in the middle of an exponentially growing curve of growth and innovation. And I'd like to just linger for a moment on something Dr. Saeed said earlier about the McKinsey study. If you really grasp what these numbers mean of what we're going through now compared to the Industrial Revolution, it is absolutely mind-blowing. Just as a case in point to really understand what this means in a tangible sense, if you look at the last 6-7 months of progress, and Dr. Saeed mentioned prompting and how prompting plays such a large role. If we take the progress of ChatGPT and the progress of Midjourney, if you take the same prompts 7 months ago and look at the output with the same prompts now, it is absolutely incredible what has happened in this time. And therefore, when you look at the continuing exponential curve, you can only, it's even hard to fathom in a year, what will we be talking about, you know? So this is the key idea, is that, with larger organizations, of course, there has to be an adoption of AI. It's not an option, but startups have that speed edge, so they will be spotting opportunities and creating quick solutions based on this, capitalizing on being able to build solutions with AI. And you know, it's really from two sides. It's the external side, so building the AI-based products, but also using AI to move faster in the normal operational mechanisms of a startup, of validating ideas, of imagining what the business model is like, of exploring different automated marketing techniques. So even in the inside operations of startup, it's going to accelerate and make things move much faster. And yeah, startups will play a massive role.
Yeah, it's interesting the rate at which it's growing. Maybe just to add on to that, Basil, is the adoption going as fast as the rate at which AI is developing?
Well, I think really the biggest difficulty now is just keeping up, and the overwhelming amount of information that you need to digest to be able to figure things out. One of the big shifts I think that is going to really focus the output with how things are moving. And it goes back to something Dr. Fatma said and Dr. Said, is that you know, we have these large language models that have paved the way, and they've done it not just through their algorithms and data, but through the user experience itself. But now we also have this push, and I'm very like happy to say that AWS is at the forefront of democratizing AI. So you're not going to be just relying on one or two large language models. You're going to have access to the power of a lot of these large language models. For example, Falcon, which is absolutely incredible, that anyone can, any startup right now using AWS and SageMaker can start utilizing Falcon to start training it with their proprietary data, adding a very specific UX case for their ideal customers, and then you have an incredible solution that can be developed in a short amount of time. So this ability to democratize the AI models, and you don't have to, you know, reinvent the wheel and then build atop them. This is going to help speed up the ability for startups to go in and be very competitive with an amazing product without having to spend a lot of time.
Great initiatives. And maybe I'll address this one to Dr. Saeed, based on what Basil has just mentioned on adoption of these tools. From your experience, what are the key challenges organizations might face when integrating generative AI into their operations, and how can they overcome them?
Good question. Let me say this. Okay, there are several challenges that faces organizations in adopting AI. One of which is, of course, technical complexity. Generative AI is not easy to develop and integrate within organization environment. It requires specific skills, data scientists, machine learning experts, to fine tune already existing models, which Basil has described. You know, spoke about Falcon and some other models, which we're trying to investigate now how to take advantage of this, especially that Falcon has been, you know, open sourced from the Technology Innovation Institute, completely open source. But then there are some also other issues with that. Of course, open source models are a good option here, but still would require fine tuning, which needs highly trained people and AI expertise. And to overcome this challenge, organization will need to seek external, probably, expertise and hire highly skilled resources. Just Microsoft yesterday has launched a new service called Azure OpenAI, where you can train, you know, the GPT-4 on your data, and that will make it much easier, you know, to integrate and fine tune, you know, large models with the specific data that organizations have in there. A second challenge is, of course, is about reskilling people. And here we see that organization will need to invest in terms of training and reskilling their staff in prompt engineering. We already started this in the UAE a few weeks ago. We've given a workshop for government employees, you know, reskilling them in how to use prompt engineering. We have many workshops coming in the future in this area. A third challenge is about privacy and security. And you know, these language models would require a new set of expertise, for example, when it comes to securing them in terms of prompt engineering, because we're talking here about, you know, prompt injections and the new threats that these language models possess. And we will need experts who are very well trained in prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is not only about writing good prompts, but also in terms of directing and controlling the language model itself. And of course, there are some solutions here, which Basil has alluded to. You know, we see that Microsoft, Amazon have come up with their own SaaS models to offer to organizations, you know, to facilitate and to make it easy for organization to adopt and migrate to large language models. I'm not quite happy though. I mean, yes, thanks to Dr. Fatma has spoken about how AI is going to bring this diversity and inclusion. So far, I haven't seen this happening, unfortunately, because I've been talking for about responsible and ethical AI for the last 5 years. And what we've seen is more discrimination against sex, more discrimination against race. And there are so many use cases that I can highlight about this. I hope that this will change with a focus on ethical and responsible AI. And we see the recent movement from governments and from not just only from the tech, because there is a pressure on the tech industry from governments, from policymakers to make AI more ethical, to make AI more responsible. And I think this is going to take a journey. It's not going to happen over day, because, for example, when we speak about how we can make AI fair, you need to find what is fairness. You need to look into your data and make it much more inclusive and much more diverse. And you need to go into, much more details to ensure, fairness, and to ensure transparency, to ensure interoperability, and also make the developers accountable for what they develop, because at the end, it's going to impact society. And we've seen a lot of these tools have negatively impacted society. So I hope that now we are, of course, looking into regulations that's supposed to come in the future with the European Union AI Act and many of the regulations the government is promoting, but also, we should promote ethical and responsible AI by design. So for those, I teach data science in many of the universities. To my knowledge, I haven't seen a master's in data science program where they give focus on data ethics, on AI ethics. We are graduating, sorry to say, we are graduating data scientists who are completely unaware of the subject of data ethics and AI ethics. And then we put them in the workplace and we ask them to develop these tools. How these are impacting. I'm sorry, I'm passionate about the subject, but because I speak about it all the time, and I'm sorry if I take time. I see Dr. Fatma here has
Dr. Fatma has something to add. You have something to add to that? You're muted.
Yeah, well, of course, thank you very much for your input, Dr. Saeed. I completely agree with you about the diversity and inclusion, and that has to be changed quickly. And I believe that generative AI is going to make not just a normal change, but a dramatic change in this area. And let's put force together and try to work on this and develop something that will help women and help everybody in this area. So thank you very much.
And Basil, you have something to add to that as well?
Yeah, I just want to say I can't agree more with what Dr. Saeed is saying. There's always this idea, or an expectation that AI is like a magic solution and it will solve our problems and it's just the silver bullet, and that is extremely far from the truth. We have an incredible opportunity to evolve right now, and this is how I see really the potential of this incredible technology actually becoming more about humanity than technology, but it will take focus looking and asking difficult questions about how we can use this amazing opportunity to evolve, because it will not solve our problems for us. And if we expect it to do that, I think actually it will be detrimental, and it will basically accelerate everything that's negative unless we really take this moment to address the things that we need to address and really snap out of a lot of hazes that we have, because inaction doesn't mean we're not moving. We're already moving in a direction. And what AI is doing is accelerating that movement. So we really need to take this time as an opportunity to evolve. And it's not about the technology, it's about the impact on humanity. So I couldn't agree more. This is absolutely should be at the forefront of what we're thinking about, not specifically just training data scientists to create cool products.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with all of that. Quite interesting as well. And maybe to add on to that, maybe I'll address this to Dr. Fatma. How can organizations use generative AI to address societal challenges, such as access to justice and education, particularly in regions with limited resources?
Well, of course, this is an important question, and I believe that generative AI can be a powerful tool to address social challenges like equality, like education, limited educational resources, and assist in distributing it in a fair way. This can help to bridge the gap definitely between the gender and to provide an effective platform, for example, not only to provide service, but to test and experience the result of decision maker and how it is going to affect the people involved. Also, with personalized services and personalized treatment and maybe personalized also ethical advice assistant, individual and top management decision maker can benefit a lot from this to promote the diversity and inclusion in hiring practice, to attract and hire more diverse pool of candidates. I would like to add also, if we mix this with responsible AI, as Dr. Said mentioned, it can ensure that it is used in equitable manner, and the generative AI can be, of course, mixed with other AI models like explainable AI, like semantic AI. And I think that is going to push this space and these services into a different space to provide justice in the right way, not only justice based according to limited policies within an organization or educational place. Thank you.
Thank you, Sajad, for that input. And I just read somewhere that less than half of the world's population has realistic access to courts and lawyers. So I think this could be a platform where generative AI could come in handy and drive, contribute to better justice systems and education systems.
Yes.
I'll move to Basil. What aligning with SMEs and startups, what specific advantages can SMEs derive from adopting generative AI, and how can they overcome the potential barriers in terms of resources and expertise?
Yeah, so like mentioned earlier, there's really the two ways, which is one externally, so applying the AI to their products, either building completely AI based products, whether it's using an API or using the different kind of models to train your own data. Or for a lot of startups that are already in the market, adding an AI element to their already broad offering. So there's a lot of tools that have been around in the market. For example, let's take Canva, for creating marketing materials or videos and stuff. It wasn't an AI based startup before, but they were very quick to move with generative AI. Now they have at least 3 or 4 major features in terms of using stable diffusion to create the images for marketing, for copywriting. So they've integrated it very smartly and quickly and effectively into their product, and then they've been able to make their product even more and more competitive. And if you're in a market, which is, I'd say, many of the markets where AI will give you a big edge, then it's no longer a luxury or an option. You have to have it, otherwise you're simply not going to be competitive in the market. And then the other way is, of course, internally, where even from the founding of the startup, and one of the talks I give is how to have AI as a co-founder. Just from the very beginning, of researching your market, of you can use prompts to you know, have the AI, generative AI, you know, act like a potential user and really talk to it as not to replace your market research, but to add to it. And it might provide some interesting insights. It might, you know, prevent you from wasting a lot of time, and it will point out certain things, you know, to do with the feasibility and the needs in the market and spotting competition. So it's really at every stage, from building the startup to, of course, the generative AI coding companions. I cannot stress enough how incredible this is going to affect everything and make things move much faster, because now it will not replace software developers, but it will make them extremely more effective. So instead of having a very large team to develop a sophisticated product, you might need only 2 or 3, with AI acting as a development co-pilot, such as using AWS Code Whisperer, for example, where you're giving it comments on what do I want this function to do, and it's producing them at an alarmingly efficient manner. And you know, me as a software developer, essentially, and a computer science graduate, it makes me on one hand a bit uncomfortable to see it develop, you know, these
coming up for you, but
it makes me uncomfortable. But then at the same time, when you understand that, oh, it does not still have many of the other qualities that makes a good software developer or a good product manager, and it's the combination of these 2 things that's going to be incredible, you know. So it's not going to replace software development, but it's going to you know, make software developers much more efficient and impactful. So you know, every stage, like everything we've been saying, I don't think there's going to be an area of creation or production or analysis or anything that's untouched by it.
Okay, great. And maybe just to add on that, the largely publicized when Elon Musk and a group of other tech leaders were advocating for the development of AI to be paused. And on the other side, if you see like Sam Altman and the other AI CEO and leaders advocating for adoption of these tools, what's your take on that, especially when it comes to small startups and SMEs?
So as with everything, there is no black and white or right and wrong answer here. On one hand, we all see the potential to move quickly and to innovate. On the other hand, we have to be responsible, because like the earlier conversation we were having, we as a society or a species, we are still not mature yet we have this incredibly powerful technology that's going to move us quickly in certain directions. So we have to be excited but also cautious, so not to stop things completely, but to be aware of the impact of them. And I'm just going to give one small example of something like this. The ability now and the shift of impact between, for example, utilizing something like, for example, ChatGPT to brainstorm ideas, or to, you know, generate concepts, or to edit documents, or to analyze data. That's one hand. Once now we give these models the ability to generate and run its own code, that puts us in a completely different realm. Once we give this AI the ability to then create, you know, what sometimes they're calling this auto GPT thing, where it's running recursive tasks to get something done, we're now in a different region that we need to be very cautious about. So it's not an easy answer of one or the other. We just need to be very wise at this point. And we need to also factor in that, you know, business will, you know, people who run businesses, they want to make money. They're not always the best people to understand the effect on society. So it has to be a conversation we all have, and not trust one or two tech businesses to make the right decision for all of us, because history says that doesn't work out very well for us.
It's
very
dangerous.
Collaborative.
If you allow me to add on this, well, thank you,
Absolutely.
Basil, for highlighting this, you know, and I'll give my feedback about this, you know, about this letter and, you know, pausing for some time. On principle, I kind of understand that we need to cautiously develop this technology. What we see, the mantra that is used in the Silicon Valley, move fast and break things, it's not going to happen with AI. So we have to be really very careful, okay? It's not about pausing for 6 months. No, I don't totally agree about pausing for 6 months as what Elon Musk and the rest, maybe more than 20,000 people have signed the letter. But the concept is about, okay, because we see that, as ambassadors have said, this is moving too fast without us being aware of what we are building. And for example, tools like, AutoGPT or Baby AGI, these tools which you can give them a target or an objectives, and they start formulating their tasks, to achieve this.
Yeah.
We might come to a point, I'm not saying that extinction and all that, what people are calling for now, that AI is gonna, terminate humanity. This is not gonna happen, not at least, I don't know, for probably the next years until probably, artificial general intelligence is reached where it becomes out of control, so that definitely. But the point here is that we need to develop this technology very ethically and responsibly first, and we need to see the impact on society, but because we don't need to be driven by greed and by profit, because this is what the Silicon Valley mindset is, that okay, let's build it and let's give it to the people, let them figure out their problems, and then we'll correct it afterwards. It's not gonna work.
No.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk called it an AI apocalypse. We might.
Yeah, one thing I'll add to that ending point by Dr. Saeed is because so this is a tool being given to people. We have to recognize that there are people who act with positive intentions and there are people who act with negative intentions. They exist in the world. So to understand how this will not only enable the creators but the fraudsters and the hackers, and this is something that really we need to think about, because the tools that the people who whether commit fraud or steal or do something like that, the tools that they now have, it's going to go beyond just like an email from the Nigerian prince. It's going to get very sophisticated, and there are entire layers of our population, especially senior citizens who are connected to the internet, who can now really be the subjects of very intelligent fraud attacks and things like this. These are all considerations we need to think about.
Absolutely. And speaking of ethical considerations, I'll address this to you, Dr. Fatma. In your experience, what are the key ethical considerations that organizations should keep in mind when developing and deploying generative AI systems?
Thank you for the question, and I think this will answer a little bit about the discussion that was going on before.
Yes.
So I think I look at generative AI as a collective intelligence, system. We must keep in mind that there are several ethical considerations that has to ensure that this technology is used as responsible and in equitable manner. And probably we can think of developing some mechanical AI to avoid risk or some kind of risk that has been discussed. As for example, we can develop develop maybe a system that is as a proof of cooperation, a proof of interaction, proof of ethics, and we can, of course, subdivide it into different areas. Proof of humanity, because in the future we're going to work with lots of systems, and we don't know if that system is human or not human in front of us. Proof of responsibility at different management level, because people who are taking these decisions and affecting other people with them in the organization, they need to be responsible about this decision. Proof of the delegations in the system. Proof of empowerment, who is empowering what and for what reason. Proof of assistance, who is helping and how we can assist, and who deserve this type of assistance. Proof of activity, and how the system is being active and at what level. Proof of assessment as well, how this system is being assisted by itself, and how we can make fair assessment for this system within the organization. proof of satisfaction for the people who are working, proof of security. We need to guarantee certain level of security. Proof of fairness for within the organization, within any environment, proof of existence. This is very important for the growth of the organization, for the growth of the people within the environment. Proof of accuracy. This is something that probably has been practiced, but not as full level. Proof of equality, and this is what we're calling for. Proof of prosperity, and this is excellent for also the organization and for the people to learn what path they should take. Proof of wealth, also for at governmental level. So by training unbiased data that is collected and used in responsible and ethical manner, automatically, not manually, the developed algorithm will bring better results for us, in particular concerning hiring, promotions, end of service, financial bonuses, and so on. So by addressing this issue of bias and ensuring that the AI system has considered all these concepts of risk and for avoidance, I believe we can have more trust for the AI technology and generative AI, and it will be more transparent for everybody using probably or mixing it with explainable AI as well.
If you allow me to add on this, Dr. Fatma, yes, we have many frameworks available for ethical and responsible AI. Every big tech company, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, OpenAI, they have their own framework. We have a framework that has been promoted and developed by the United Nations, the UNESCO. It's called the AI Ethics Framework, which UNESCO has produced towards the end of 2021, which has 193 countries have signed and accepted that framework. It's about enforcing those framework or whatever framework. Let's say if we're going to take the United Nations or the UNESCO framework, it comes with a recommendation for organizations, for big tech, how they need to apply, how they need to operationalize the AI ethics into their products. And that is not an easy. Some companies, they do take proper measures and they take it seriously, so they have a culture of accountability. And for example, Accenture, maybe, some other companies, but some without proper regulation in a place, and without regulating this, if we leave it to companies, if we leave it to big tech, they will practice whatever they feel comfortable with. I just give us, one statistics, and this is, if you go to this is what has one of the very popular AI experts have spoken about. We have in many organizations, or big tech companies, we have 30 data scientists and machine learning engineers against one AI ethicist. So imagine, what we see in the industry, that those AI ethicists or, the ethical people are really burned out in terms of trying to convince their organization to implement this properly. And if they do come up and speak, you saw what happens in Google. You saw what happens in other companies. I don't want to speak about this, but yes, I think when it comes to ethical framework, we have several. We have global ethical. European Union, they have their own ethical, AI ethics framework. It's about how we can really enforce their implementation and how, big tech can really take accountability and responsibility. This is what we've been promoting when we speak about, with my course and with my colleague Ajit Joker and University of Oxford, we promoting AI ethics by design. So, from the design perspective, when it comes to design the product, you need to consider the AI ethical, at that point in time.
Thank you for that addition. Thank you for that. And maybe to move to Basil, what are some of the potential risks or challenges the startups might face when adopting generative AI, and how can they mitigate them?
Oh, there's quite a few. Definitely, if you're creating your entire value proposition as a startup, and you're using an API like ChatGPT, for example's API, that is a very big risk, because you're putting your entire value proposition depending on an external entity. And startups work in a world of uncertainty, but if you take that decision, you're adding a humongous amount of extra uncertainty to your startup path. Like, just to give an example, like maybe 10 years ago, there was a startup at some point I was working on that was utilizing the APIs of different social networks, for example, like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, to do something with the aggregate contacts that you have. And after about 5 months of development, it just so happened that these social networks started to cut off API access that they had already given to a lot of developers beforehand, completely, stopping a lot of other, startups in their path who had depended on these APIs. So even though that might be unlikely, it is possible, and it does happen once companies decide to shift, because it is their own business that they're running. Another thing that's less devastating but definitely worth considering as a risk is pricing fluctuations. So if you are working with these LLMs, and it's the API calls are based on certain prices, then you're adding your own pricing layer for your own for your customers. So when their pricing shifts, you have to shift your pricing, and that might affect your profit margin and a lot of other things. That's another risk to identify. A third, which is a very big one, and it's definitely changing now with a lot of the democratized AI models. But if you are again working with an API, the IP and the ownership of the data is technically not yours. You're sending your information to another entity, and if again, for a startup, its own technology and IPs, it is very critical to it. So that is something that you need to consider when using an API call. Less so, of course, than when you're using your own model and training it. And lastly, which is definitely something worth considering, is that at the end of the day, your users for your startup and your product, they are interfacing with you. So whatever comes out of the product or the startup, you are accountable for. And until now, AI makes mistakes, and AI produces hallucinations, and AI can there's so many times, in the last couple of months, you'd ask an AI something, and then it would tell you an answer very convincingly, and you'd say, oh, that's incredible, I didn't know that, is that true? And then the AI would say, no, it's not true. So if that happens with one of your users or with a critical function, you can't say, sorry, it was the AI. It's your startup, and they will churn, and it'll be a problem. So that's another of the risks that any startup working with AI needs to take into consideration.
Interesting. That happens a lot. We often laugh within our team, some of the responses that it gives you, especially ChatGPT, like, oh my goodness, if there wasn't a person behind the keyboard, it could be disastrous.
Yeah.
And I'll pose one of our last questions to Dr. Fatma. Based on that, how can organizations strike a balance between leveraging generative AI for automation and maintaining the human touch in customer interactions or service delivery?
Thank you. This is also a very important question, because our aim should be focused on keeping the human within the loop. No matter how automated AI routine and tasks will provide, for example, personal interaction, but we have to keep the human touch there. This is very important because at least for the short and mid-term, for the long term, I know the story is very big, and we need to have maybe discussion about this in a maybe different 1 or more hours. So by identifying the right task for automation, number one, without sacrificing the human touch, this is very important. Personalized interaction is good with customer, but we need to give also the chance for the customer to select in between being with human or at some level of time during the communication. For example, providing personalized training and support with generative AI. However, this can be, for example, supervised by the human also side. For example, combining AI, but within the system itself, we have to consider that the human factor is existing there and participating there at each and every level, the level of user, the level of operation, the level of management. We don't want to eliminate human out of this, the whole loop. So I hope this answered the question in a way.
Absolutely does. Absolutely. I wish we could continue. Our time is not on our side. I think this is a conversation we can definitely continue in another webinar. So in closing, I would like to thank you, our esteemed panelists. Or maybe before I close, Fatma from SRTIP, do we have any question that we can pose to the panelists? We have about 4 minutes left. Just check on the chats or the Q&A.
If not,
Okay, there are. I'll just, we have Kishore. He says, although generative AI has captured our collective imagination, in reality, the usage is very low. Surveys shows that less than 17% of professionals use it actively. What could be the reason? It's a good question. Yeah.
Well, can you repeat the question, please? Less than 17% or 70%?
17. It's less than, survey shows that it's less than 17% of professionals use it actively. What could be the reason?
I'm not sure about the survey, but I'll tell you about myself. I mean, since this ChatGPT has came out since last November, I've been using it extensively in many ways, you know, brainstorming, giving some ideas. Now, see, the problem with this, I think, and this is a question, is how to use those tools effectively, you know, and I think this is the right question. This would require not just only any single user that, okay, let me put a question and then I get the answer. No, you know, with the prompt engineering and not just only a prompt engineering is one thing, is what to ask, how you want to format the output, in what way, in what tone, and with all that, but also it requires creativity and critical thinking from the human. Okay, first of all, and I you know, I'll highlight, you know, a study by Harvard where they talk about how to effectively really use, you know, those generative AI. They alluded to 4 important skills: problem formulation, determining what to ask the AI, exploring using major AI tools. You know, I will use ChatGPT, I will use Bing, I will use maybe Bard and whatsoever, and will compare. And then critical thinking, does the result really make sense? Is this really true? And of course, confirming the facts, not just only taking whatever coming as an output, like that lawyer who asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT went and formulated about 5-6 cases, and the lawyer took those cases and he went to the judge, and when they investigated into those cases, none of them exist. So this has to have critical thinking from the people about what does it mean, you know, is this, does this really make sense? And then of course, reflection, examining, you know, my own feeling about AI. So these are very important skills that people need to master to be able to use those tools effectively.
Absolutely. And Dr. Fatma, you would like to add on that? Just briefly?
I just would like to add that one of the reasons maybe it has been restricted for certain countries and certain area. So people started later in this. Number 2, probably these models sometimes and system requires and special systems, okay? Like the usual computer will not perform as supposed to be or as well as it is, or probably will not be capable of running large data. So those people, they don't have maybe the accessibility to train or to work with these systems because they don't have the required hardware. Number three, probably because they don't have enough education and training about this. So for the time being, this is required, I think. And this should be a way forward for everybody to be involved in this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I wish we could take more. We have Melvis Furtado, US Silicon Valley AI. We're excited to be part of this. How do we, as new in the region, share our AI solutions pertaining to predictive analysis in green energy? I think, Melvis, if you contact us here at the park, we have programs and initiatives for AI innovations and solutions and technology tools.
And I'll be happy as well. Also, please, I'm happy to connect with anybody who is interested.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll share with the audience your contact details if you're open to that, and you can also contact us here at SAIA, SAIA at srtip.ae. We can add that to the chat as well. For anyone who has more questions or questions that we haven't addressed, we'll respond to them via email. So in closing, I'd like to thank our esteemed panelists, Dr. Saeed, Basil, Dr. Fatma, for sharing your valuable insights and expertise. As we conclude this webinar, I encourage participants to consider the significant role that generative AI can play in shaping the future of businesses and our lives in general. Thank you once again. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you found this webinar informative and inspiring. I absolutely did. I wish you all continued success. Goodbye and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.